Hello everyone and welcome to the first episode of Micahsoft Gaming Reviews, a show where I review games. This episode is about Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. Kirby 64 came out around the end of the Nintendo 64's life. So how does it stack up against other classics like Ocarina of Time and Mario 64? Let's find out. Near the end of a console's life, normally after its successor has already been released, Nintendo will release a new Kirby game. The reason behind this is to make a game for the younger audience and casual players that aren't ready to make the console jump. The Kirby series has always tried to make a game that could be easy for younger players, but at the same time be challenging for older players. So let's start off this review by jumping straight into the story. Once upon a time, in the happy little planet of Ripplestar, a dark evil, called the Dark Matter, fills the skies, coming to take the Master Crystal and use it for evil. A young fairy named Ribbon jumps on the Master Crystal and rides it far away to protect it. She isn't able to protect the crystal for long though. Eventually the Dark Matter catches up to Ribbon and shatters the Master Crystal. Ribbon crash lands on Popstar, where our hero Kirby is watching the crystals fall to the planet. Ribbon lands right on top of Kirby's head and they each find a piece of the crystal. They put the pieces back together, then Ribbon asks Kirby if he will help her find the rest of the pieces of the Master Crystal. And Kirby agrees. A little later, Kirby will find Waddle Dee, a young artist named Adeline, and King Dedede. They all will join Kirby. Now it's up to Kirby, Waddle Dee, Adeline, King Dedede, and Ribbon to collect all the pieces of the Master Crystal and save Ripplestar. As always, the world of Kirby looks as cartoony and cute as ever. Since this game was released near the end of the Nintendo 64's lifespan, they knew more about the system's graphical capabilities and were able to create a very good looking game. I have heard some say that this game looks as good as early GameCube titles. There are 6 worlds within Kirby 64. There's the average Popstar planet, a rocky planet, a water planet, a jungle planet, totally not post-apocalyptic Earth, and a magical happy fairy world. Even though these levels take place in the same world, they aren't all practically the same like in other platformers. Each level really stands out from one another. For example, Shiverstar, my favorite world in the game, is made up of 4 levels and a boss. The first level takes you through a standard snow level, the second is a level that takes place in the sky, the third takes place in a toy factory, the fourth takes place in a more sinister, dark, and creepy factory, and finally the boss fight takes place in an abandoned futuristic city. While the graphics and the level themes are really great, I just can't say the same for the music. Only a couple of songs really stuck with me. Those songs were the boss theme, the Cloud level theme, which I believe is a remix of Butter Building, and finally, this song, which is my favorite song on the entire soundtrack. But other than those songs, nothing in this soundtrack really stood out to me. In between each of the worlds, you'll be shown a quick goofy cutscene that will have that simple old school Saturday morning cartoon kind of humor. These cutscenes look really good and they can even make you laugh out loud. In case you haven't already guessed, in Kirby 64 you travel through 6 planets in order to collect the large crystal shard that is guarded by the world's boss. In each of these worlds you will go through 3 to 4 levels. Like I mentioned earlier, every level is very unique. You play through these levels as Kirby, and he can still do what he did in the older games, like eating enemies and floating. The main difference now is that Kirby can hold 2 elements at a time, which allow him to use a unique power with each combination. The power combos are really hit or miss. This is because they all deal the same amount of damage, so there's no reason to pick one power over the other, for combat anyway. I usually just pick powers with good range and that are quick. Bomb cutter. Some of these powers are really tedious to use, like the Needle Fire ability. It turns you into a bow that fires flaming arrows, which is cool except it has a stupid aiming system. The abilities that stand out to me the most, though, are the funny ones. Cue the montage! Pointy objects of death! Snowman terrorist! Darth Maul! Hot die Qui-Gon, nobody likes the prequels anyway! But don't forget about the delicious, though nutritious refrigerator! I swear, I thought that was the funniest thing when I was 5. Sometimes when you're in a level, you will encounter one of Kirby's friends that will help you through a level. Waddle Dee will let you take a ride in a vehicle to progress through certain sections of levels. Out of Line will paint you a food item or a 1-up that magically manifests into a real item. Finally, King Dedede will give you a piggyback ride that lets you play as him. King Dedede is a lot slower than Kirby, and he has the hammer ability. I really like the help each of the friends give you because it provides a nice change of pace to the game. Hidden within these levels are 3 crystal shards. You collect these shards if you want to go for 100% completion like I did. The shards were meant to add replayability to the game, but they made one big mistake with this: how they hid the crystal shards. Some crystal shards are hidden in plain sight, which makes them things you will see on your first time playing a level. Other crystal shards are hidden behind copy walls, which you need to have a certain copy combo to destroy. This becomes super tedious because a lot of the time the game will have one of these copy walls, but there will be no enemies you need in the level. So the game makes you leave the level, go into another one that contains the enemies you're looking for, then go all the way back to where the ability wall was in the level and then destroy it. Oh yeah, did I mention that they normally put these at the end of levels? It just puts a ton of unnecessary backtracking into the game. I would have liked them to give me a challenge where I really need to go out of my way to find the shards, but they hit them all in really easy spots. There are only a couple of times in the game where I feel a crystal shard was hidden creatively, which is really a shame because they had so much potential to make good puzzles with these copy combos. For example, on the final level of Rockstar there's a dark room with 3 squares on the wall. In the next room there's a room full of switches. What you're supposed to do is get the electric bomb power, which is actually in the level, then light up the room to discover the combination for the switches. This is how the game should have hid the shards, with creative puzzles like this, but instead they hid most of them in plain sight or behind stupid copy combo walls. I seriously only had to go to a few levels to collect crystal shards I missed, and most of the time it was just to break a copy wall. One feature this game had that made getting shards less tedious was once you had a shard, you had it for good. If you game over to quit the game, you still have the shard and you don't have to play the entire level again. Once you make it to the end of a world, you have to fight a boss. The bosses in the game are really hit or miss. Mainly because you fight with an ability, it makes the boss really easy. The only one that is hard to fight with an ability is the robot boss in Shiverstar. The boss of Rockstar is hard, mainly just because it forces you to fight without an ability, classic Kirby style. I really enjoyed most of the worlds in this game, because they were really creative. The one I didn't like was Ripplestar. When you go to the first level of Ripplestar, you think, wow, this level really reminds me of the first level. Then you realize, this is the first level. I know it was supposed to be very similar, but to me, putting a retextured first level in the last world of the game just seems repetitive and lazy. The second level of Ripplestar is just meh, and the last one is literally just a collection of hallways and rooms where you battle the game's stupidly easy enemies. Ripplestar is just a big disappointment for the last few levels of the game. If there's one redeeming quality of Ripplestar, it's the boss. Miracle Matter uses all 7 of the game's abilities against you, one at a time, as it is in each form. You can only attack it by spitting out the corresponding ability or attacking it with the corresponding ability. I think it's better to fight classic Kirby style by spitting abilities. Once you defeat the boss, the crystal shard will repel dark matter away from Ripplestar and everything is happy. Or is it? Find out after this commercial message.
Did you see the latest Nintendo newsletter?
Whoa, nice graphics. I'd like to get my hands on that game.
You mean you haven't played it yet? We can play it on my Nintendo Entertainment System. It's The Legend of Zelda, and it's really rad. Those creatures from Ganon are pretty bad. Octoroks, Tektites, Levers, too. But with your help, our hero pulls through. Yeah, go Link, yeah, get Zelda.
Awesome.
Intense.
The Nintendo Entertainment System. Your parents help you hook it up.
If you collect every crystal shard and defeat Miracle Matter again, the crystal shard will destroy the dark matter and then fire its laser at the queen, which reveals the dark matter was hiding in the queen. Dark matter flies away to create the final level of the game, Dark Star. When you enter Dark Star, you will fight the game's real final boss, Zero 2. This is the analogy I have for Zero 2. Imagine you go into a French restaurant and you eat through your French meal and then ask the waiter for a dessert menu. You start looking at the menu for creme brulee, but all that's on the menu is freaking sopapillas! That pretty much sums up Zero 2. You 100% a Kirby game and expect a boss that will challenge everything you learned the entire game, but instead, you're treated to a boss that should have been in Star Fox 64. Nintendo, if I wanted to fight a Star Fox boss, I would have bought Star Fox 64, not Kirby 64. Once you beat Zero 2, Dark Star will explode and the gang will fly back to Ripplestar, where they are rewarded with Crystal Shard medals. Ribbon will then proceed to kiss Kirby, and then Kirby will fall down the stairs. Oh, Kirby 64, how I love your cutscenes. Overall, Kirby 64 The Crystal Shards is an enjoyable experience, but that's pretty much all it is. The copy combos were a good idea, but they weren't implemented right. and the Crystal Collection is super easy, so you won't be coming back to this game at all. I give Kirby 64 a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching the first episode of Micahsoft Game Reviews. If you want to leave a suggestion for the show, then leave that in the comments. And if you want to tell me what I can improve on, or what I can work on, or suggestions you have other than other games, then leave that in the comments as well. Thank you for watching, and God bless.